Welcome, everyone. Good morning to those who are gathered here in the sanctuary and to all who are joining us online today. We begin this morning with a musical prelude by Scott DeVoe. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Charlottesville and to Sojourners United Church of Christ. My name is Karen Mann. I'm one of the pastors at Sojourners. My pronouns are she, her, and it is my pleasure to be leading in worship this morning with Reverends Tim Temerson and Leah Derlin-Jones, with Minister of Congregational Life at Sojourners, Bethany Koch, Music Director Scott DeVoe, musician Amy Wissikirk, and the UUCville Sojourners Combined Pickup Choir. Whoever you are, wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Charlottesville and at Sojourners UCC. We're delighted that you have joined us this morning and are grateful to all who have made this moment of our gathering possible. I invite us to take a moment to greet others. Those of you who are online may unmute yourselves, and those here in the sanctuary or social hall are welcome to greet your neighbors, especially those that you may not know. At Sojourners, I like to say that everyone is welcome here, and we are so glad that you are here. So good to see you. If you are a newcomer, we offer a special welcome to you and invite you to join after service in the social hall and to sit at the newcomers table, which will have a red tablecloth. You're also invited to use one of the red coffee mugs, and the members and friends of UUCville are reminded to offer anyone with a red mug a warm welcome to the congregation. There is a live stream of the service in the social hall. All are welcome in the sanctuary, but for those needing a roomier space, the social hall is a good option. Those on Zoom are invited to stay online after the service for a time of conversation. And many thanks to all the people who make Sunday morning services possible: the greeters, ushers, hospitality, altar decorating teams, and the wonderful religious education leaders and volunteers. And a special thanks to the AV Tech team led by Nash Ford. And now we will have some greetings from UUCville board member Bev Ryan.
I am representing the board. This is my last year as vice president, ending next summer. It's been a wonderful experience, and I just wanted to say that right off. Today, I just want to keep it really light and happy and talk about the auction. So the word I have is an estimated value somewhere around $8,000 that we earned, and more will come. There's a few things out in the social hall that are still up for grabs. There's still some meals that we'll be sending out notices about. So just wanted to let you know. And it was such a wonderful gathering of all of the community. It was beautiful. And the food was good too.
Got a few announcements this morning for you. So today at 12:30 in Lower Hall 2, invite you to join us. You don't have to have signed up, just show up for a very special teach-in that's brought to you by our Mosaic team called Speak Up, which will help you develop skills to speak up about disrespectful behavior, particularly in the context of bias or prejudice. The teach-in is being offered by the fabulous Greg Townsend, who many of you know and has taught these skills to medical students and medical professionals for many, many years. Many thanks to all who helped out at yesterday's new member and friends class, which was held in the morning. The auction was in the evening. I'm very pleased to share the news that we welcomed 9 new members to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Charlottesville. And we just had a wonderful time, and we got to know many folks who are newer to our congregation. A reminder that our music committee is circulating a survey right now, and they are asking all UUCville members and friends to complete the survey, and you can find that link to the survey in the Friday email. So please make sure that you do that. Also, a reminder that next Sunday we will have one of our sustainable potlucks in the social hall after the service. Please bring your favorite sustainable entree or side dish to share, and of course, all are welcome. And finally, UUCville will be hosting a Thanksgiving dinner meal on Thanksgiving Thursday. And I don't remember the date of Thanksgiving, but it's a Thursday. It's not next Thursday, it's the week after. And please do join us. It'll be a wonderful, lovely meal. We invite you to bring a side dish or something like that, and we will provide the turkeys and the drinks and maybe dessert. I'm not sure, but so please do join us for that as well. And of course, join us for coffee and conversation in the social hall after the service. So Pastor Karen and I would now like to share our call to worship. And these words come from my colleague, Reverend Joan Javier Duval. You are beloved, and you are welcome here.
Whether tears have fallen from your eyes this past week or gleeful laughter has spilled out of your smiling mouth.
You are beloved, and you are welcome here.
Whether you are feeling brave or brokenhearted, defiant or defeated, fearsome or fearful.
You are beloved, and you are welcome here.
Whether you have untold stories buried deep inside or stories that have been forced beyond the edges of comfort.
You are beloved, and you are welcome here.
Whether you have made promises, broken promises, or are renewing your promises.
You are beloved, and you are welcome here.
Whatever is on your heart, however it is with your soul in this moment.
You are beloved, and you are welcome here. Now I'd like to invite the Mormon family. Where are they at? There they are. Come on down to light our flaming chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism. And as they light the chalice, I invite us to, I'm kibitzing here so they can make their way down. There we go. I invite you to join with me in saying our chalice lighting words, which will be on the screen. We gather this hour as people of faith with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning in celebration of the life we share together. And now let's join together in doing our hand motions. Put your hand out here like this, and it's a matchbook, and you light the match. We light this chalice to celebrate Unitarian Universalism. This is a church of open minds. This is a church of helping hands. This is a church of loving hearts. Now I invite you to rise in body or spirit, and we're going to join in singing our opening hymn. It's number 34 in the gray hymnal, but the lyrics will also be on the screen, though I may speak with bravest fire. Please rise.
I'd like to invite all those young and young at heart to come up and join me here on the red carpet. And Pastor Bethany, if you'd come too. And we've got Reverend Tim, Pastor Karen. So come on down.
Oop.
Come to the front so that the friends who are coming behind you have a space to sit. So scoot on up. And Claire, you scoot up too, so that the people who are coming behind you can have room on the carpet. And I don't know why you two are sitting down.
What's that?
Why you guys are sitting down? Stand on up.
Because we're both. I thought it was because we're both really tall.
Oh, well, I need our friends to scoot up even closer here. Claire. Yeah, come on closer. Yeah, Ethan, come on up there. Now we're making room on the red carpet for everybody. That's great. Oh, it's so wonderful. It's so wonderful to see all of you. All of you. And Naomi's here. I've got some of our Why Are You Yours up front, our high school youth. Yeah. Yeah. Well, our story for all of us this morning is called Signs of Daybreak. And the author is unknown, but I've adapted it from a retelling in a book called 100 Wisdom Stories from Around the World by Margaret Self. And why I asked them to stand up, and you too, Bethany, is because I'm excited to have Pastor Karen and Reverend Tim and Pastor Bethany tell this story with me. So it starts with a rabbi. Who knows what a rabbi is? What's a rabbi? Yeah. Yeah, so someone like a priest who speaks to congregants, and you know this because you said you are Jewish. So it's usually a Jewish teacher or leader who's speaking to their congregation. Yeah, so our story starts with a rabbi. And this rabbi once asked her students how they could tell when night had ended and day was on its way back. Oh, I see some people in this congregation who know this story already. Yeah, well, a good story is always worth being heard many times. Yeah, so this teacher, this rabbi asked, how could students tell when the night had ended and day was on its way back? What do you think some of the answers might be? How can you tell when night has ended and day is on its way back? How can you tell? Yeah, Lillian. The sun is rising. Yeah, that's one way we can tell. Yeah, any other thoughts about how we can tell? Meg. You start hearing birds. Yeah. What about when you hear your alarm clock? Yeah. Well, this teacher asked this question, and do you think they wanted like a straightforward, easy answer, like when I hear my alarm clock? No, they were looking for something else. So the teacher said, how would you answer this question? How can you tell when night has ended and day is on its way back? Well, here is what one of the rabbi's students said.
You can see an animal in the distance, and you can tell whether it is a sheep or a dog.
Oh, it's when you can see an animal in the distance and you can tell the difference, whether it is a sheep or a dog. Do you know anything about that?
I don't have sheep, but I have dogs and goats, and sometimes it's hard to tell the difference. It's really hard to tell the difference between a goat crying and your children yelling.
Well, that is a good guess, but it's not the answer that I'm seeking. Any other thoughts? Yes, Pastor Beth.
I know.
Yeah.
It's when you can look way into the distance and you see a tree, you can tell if it's a fig tree or a peach tree.
Oh, so a way you could tell that night is ending and it's daylight is you could see a tree way in the distance and tell whether it's a fig tree or a peach tree. That's a really good answer, but it's not the one that I'm seeking. Yeah. Anybody else? You
Well-
look pretty grumpy.
I am. I'm like, Rabbi, why are you making us wait? What is the answer?
Oh, you're grumpy because you want to know the
Yeah.
answer. Yeah. Yeah. Well, one way that you can tell when the night has ended and day is on its way back is when you can look on the face of another human being and you can see that that person is your brother or your sister or your sibling. Because if you cannot do this, then no matter what time it is still night. So, what do you think the rabbi meant by that? Anybody? What does that mean? It's a metaphor. Yeah, yeah. Tell us more. Yeah, so maybe thinking about night being not just the night, like really dark outside, but sort of an idea or a metaphor, and to remember that if we can't see each other's faces and recognize that we're all part of the human family, then we are stumbling in the dark. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, it is a metaphor. And one of the reasons that we wanted to share this story with all of you today is that it reminds all of us that we are interconnected, that we belong to each other and to the others that are outside of these walls. And when we forget and we don't recognize each other as part of the larger human family, then we are fumbling as if we're walking in the dark. But may we all have the experience of seeing each other as part of the human family and being part of daybreak together. So thank you all for listening so well. May this story stay with you, and as you reflect on it, may it remind you of things that are of most importance to you. We're going to sing our children to their religious education. Actually, they're going to go to children's worship. And if anybody else wants to come to children's worship, you're welcome too.
Two interconnected communities that care for one another. And how we embody that care is making time each week to share our joys and sorrows. As Sojourners, we call it our joys and concerns. And we hold these in our hearts together. Here are the joys and sorrows that were submitted prior to this morning's service. In honor of all our joys and sorrows, both those that are spoken and those unspoken, you are invited to come forward and place a glass stone in a communal bowl of water. Everyone is welcome to participate. Those offline are invited to share their joys or sorrows in the chat. Please take a stone or stones from one of the baskets and come down the center aisle or the side aisles and make your way to the bowl of water on the table that will be right here. Meg Dunham from the pastoral care team will come forward to help hold the space. Meg will be available for a few minutes after the service in the back corner of the sanctuary if you are in need of support or just want someone to listen. Those online can contact the pastoral care team at pastoral@uucharlottesville.org. Let us come now and share our joys and sorrows together.
is our pickup line from both congregations. We're going to be doing a meditative part of the Thursday tradition, where we listen to the music, we repeat it many times, we let it sink in, and obviously has a spiritual message, but it also has a musical message, which is also a spiritual message. So we're just going to begin.
Well, to Scott, to our guest musicians, and to all of you in the pickup choir, may I just say that was extraordinary, powerful, peaceful. And I closed my eyes and almost forgot where I was as I was just listening to that beautiful meditative music. So thank you so, so much. This community offers its love and support to what is closest to our hearts. Another way we show our love and care for one another is in sharing our financial gifts with our community and our congregation. Our social action collection for the month of November is for Sin Barreras, whose mission is to empower immigrants and their families in Central Virginia, focusing on the Hispanic community by educating, advocating, and supporting their needs. And as we mentioned last week, as some of you are aware, this congregation has a partnership with Sin Barreras, a partnership that has us offering a preschool program alongside them, and a partnership that we are hoping to continue to grow in the future. Nash, will you please show us the social action slide for giving for those who would now like to make a donation to Sin Barreras? In addition to giving online, if you would like to give today with cash or check, please use the social action collection envelopes here in the sanctuary and place your offering in the collection plate. And if you want to write a check, please make it out to the UU Congregation of Charlottesville and just write Social Action Collection or Sin Barreras in the memo line. Now, along with our social action collection, we invite everyone to financially support the ministries and mission of this congregation through your pledges and the weekly Sunday morning offering. Together, our financial gifts support UUCville and enable us to put love into action. This is our shared ministry. During the music that follows, again, you can offer your financial support by using the text address, Venmo, or going to our website. You can also place cash or checks in the collection plates as they are passed. So let us now dedicate all of the many gifts we share with one another by saying together, "We accept your gifts with gratitude. May we use them wisely for the highest good."
That's my mom's favorite song. Thank you. Our reading this morning comes from Tucked In by Robbie Walsh. On a quiet street, just as it was getting dark, I saw a car pull into a driveway, and then the silhouette of what appeared to be a parent, walking from the car to the front door of the house, carrying a sleeping child. The child's head lay on the parent's shoulder, their arms and legs dangling like the limbs of a puppet. They went to the door and into the house, and my imagination filled in the rest of the story. My mind went back 25 years to a time when I was that parent, pulling into our driveway and finding one or more of my kids sleeping so soundly that even carrying them in and dressing them for bed did not disturb their slumber. And then my mind went back 50 years to when I was that child, and I remembered how safe I felt in the darkening back seat. I could put my head down, trusting that nothing bad would happen. And then I would wake up in bed thinking, how did I get here? And I realized my parents had carried me from the car and put me in bed and tucked me in. The early Universalists believed that the fate of a human being is like that. No matter how rough the trip might have been or how badly you might have behaved, at the end you would come home and it would be a place of trust, safety, and love. 200 years ago, many people were amazed to hear that message because most churches told them that at the end of their journey, they were more likely to face punishment, not love. So is the ultimate truth that our souls will be taken care of in the way a loving parent takes care of a child? I don't know. Certainly much of life is not like that. I have no answers to ultimate questions, but I do have some partial truths. Here is one. There is love in this world. There is trust, and there are places of safety where a person can lay down their head for a while. The world is not always like this, but I'm absolutely certain the world is partially a place of love. And wherever that love comes from, it is manifested in this world by human beings. We are the agents of that love.
Thank you, Pastor Karen. Every time I use one of Robbie Walsh's readings, I always feel like I should just let things go right there and not say anything after that. Robbie was a mentor of mine. He was my first Unitarian Universalist minister. Hearing him preach and pray on Sunday mornings was a transcendent experience. So, Pastor Karen, let me just simply begin by thanking you and Pastor Bethany and all of the wonderful folks from Sojourners for joining us these past 2 Sundays. What a loving and kind and joyful congregation you are. Your commitment to service and to helping your neighbors, which we, of course, experienced last Sunday when you shared your caring cart tradition with us, that is so inspiring. I can only hope that these 2 Sundays are the beginning of a practice, or maybe it'll grow into a tradition that will have us worshiping and working together for many years to come. I also want to just pause for a moment to remind us that this coming Thursday, November the 20th, is Transgender Day of Remembrance, a day that is set aside to remember all the trans folks who have so tragically been the victim of violence and even murder. The level of violence that the trans community experiences, as well as other forms of oppression, especially from this administration, is heartbreaking. And we as people of faith need to make sure that we are doing what we can by showing up, by speaking out, to offer our support and our love. I wonder if we could just observe a brief moment of silence together. Now, when pastors Karen and Bethany and Revs Leah and Tim got together a month or so ago to begin talking about and planning these two Sunday services. We fairly quickly settled on exploring the theological and spiritual resources that our two traditions bring to the many challenges the world is facing. Last Sunday, Pastor Karen shared a stirring sermon about what it means to be a Christian who actually puts Jesus at the center of their lives and their faith communities. Karen, I loved your sermon, as did everyone from UUCville that I spoke to afterwards. And I hope that I wasn't too distracting when I was sitting in that chair with my amen, preach it. And I really want to thank you for your compelling condemnation of Christian nationalism, which was an important reminder for all of us that the voices spewing hate and harm in the name of Christianity have strayed as far as one possibly can from the teachings and spirit of Jesus. And of course, I also want to just thank you and commend your leadership and the entire Sojourners community for living your faith so boldly and courageously. All of you are an inspiration to me and to UUCville. So as I reflect on the question of what Unitarian Universalism offers in a world broken and burdened with hate, and with fear and greed, and the clear and present danger posed to democratic institutions, I found myself reflecting back on both sides of our tradition, Unitarianism and Universalism. You see, for much of our history, we were two separate religious traditions that shared many things in common, but that also had some important differences. And it was those similarities and differences that joined together over 60 years ago to form Unitarian Universalism. Now, I'm guessing there are some in our sanctuary today who are unfamiliar with the background of UU, so let me just give you a very, very, very short overview. Our Unitarian forebears affirmed the unity or oneness of the divine while embracing important and core values like freedom of conscience, the use of reason, and religious tolerance. It is from the Unitarian side of our tradition that we come to celebrate and affirm diverse spiritual paths and numerous sources of spiritual truth, including sacred texts like the Bible, science and the arts, and the stories and experiences of each and every one of us. More than anything else, I think it's fair to say that Unitarianism bequeaths to us an uncompromising commitment to human freedom, the freedom to seek, to explore, to question, to live into the fullness of one's humanity. And that commitment to freedom led Unitarians for many, many generations to reach out and engage in the struggle for justice, from abolitionism to women's suffrage to civil rights and reproductive freedom. Unitarians found in their tradition a calling to show up and speak out. Now, while I certainly find inspiration in the Unitarian side of our faith, I want to spend most of my time this morning focusing on the other half of our tradition, Universalism. You see, while the Unitarians were guided by values like freedom and religious tolerance, Universalists believed first and foremost in the reality and power of love. For the early Universalists, as you heard Robbie Walsh mention, God was a God of unconditional love and universal salvation, not a harsh judge who saves some but condemns others to eternal damnation. The love at the heart of universalism is, as its name suggests, universal and unconditional, radical and inclusive. It is a love that dwells in us and among us, a love that holds us when we are struggling and that fills our hearts with joy and hope. And the love affirmed by universalism most assuredly doesn't divide the human family into the saved and the unsaved, the loved and the unloved. In universalism, everyone is a child of God. Everyone has worth and dignity. Everyone is welcomed and loved. And much like the Unitarians, Universalists saw their commitment to love as a call to action. Love is not a sentiment or a feeling that we can experience when it is convenient or when we feel like it. Love is a responsibility to offer support, to challenge injustice, and to make a difference. And as Robbie Walsh, of course, reminded us, we are the agents of love. And it is belief in and commitment to the love bequeathed to us by universalism that is at the center of Unitarian Universalism. Over the last few years, we UUs have undertaken a process of reviewing and revisioning our core principles and values. Countless conversations were held and votes taken. And at the end of the process, we UUs affirm that we are, first and foremost, a religion grounded in love. I even have a picture to show you. Here's a graphic that was created to represent the values that we affirm. Some of these values, all of these values we have always affirmed. But you can see that in the center of this is love. And that's a phrase that's really catching on in Unitarian Universalism, putting love in the center. Now, it's easy to sit back and proclaim a belief in love and to draw colorful graphics with love at the center. But the challenge, of course, is to put that love into action, to live it in our individual lives, in our congregations, in our communities, and in the world. The question of how to live love and how to put love into action is very much alive here at the UU Congregation of Charlottesville. And our congregational mission actually uses those exact words, putting love into action. Now, in thinking about how to put love into action, in a world especially that is so mean-spirited, oftentimes frightening, and certainly harmful, I am, like Pastor Karen was last Sunday, drawn to the teachings of Jesus. And if you wouldn't mind a UU pastor talking a little bit about Jesus, I want to share with you this morning one of Jesus's most famous parables. But rather than giving you my interpretation of this parable, I want to tell you the parable through the retelling done by very famously, although you may not have heard it before, by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So I'm going to speak as if I'm speaking, but this is all, the interpretation here is really coming from Dr. King. So let's review things. One day, a man came to Jesus and asked what he had to do to attain eternal life. Jesus told the man that he had to follow what has come to be known as the Great Commandment. Love God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. But the man wasn't satisfied. And then he posed to Jesus what I think is the most important question in all of religious literature, a question that religions have time and again fumbled, gotten wrong, ignored. But Rabbi, who is my neighbor? Jesus responds by telling this story. Once upon a time, there was a man, a traveler, journeying down the road between Jerusalem and Jericho. At some point in the journey, the man is attacked and robbed by thieves. The unfortunate man was not only robbed of his possessions, but he was beaten, stripped of his clothes, and left for dead along the side of the road. Sometime later that day, two men, both religious officials, come down the same road. When the first man, a priest, saw the injured man lying on the side of the road, he crossed to the other side and kept going rather than stopping to help. When the Levite came upon the injured man, he did the same thing. Finally, a third man, a Samaritan, came by, and when he saw the injured man, he stopped, bound up his wounds, and took the man to a nearby inn. The Samaritan cared for the injured man and paid for his room out of his own pocket. Now, at one level, the parable of the Good Samaritan offers a pretty straightforward answer to the question posed to Jesus. 3 men find an injured stranger along the side of the road. The first 2 men don't see a neighbor worthy of love and care and keep going. The Good Samaritan, a man who himself was an outsider in society, sees the stranger as a neighbor and stops to help. So I think that the answer that Jesus is offering kind of the surface level, who is my neighbor? Everyone is your neighbor. Friends and enemies, those we know and those we have never met, the person sitting next to us, and the stranger who lies injured along the side of the road. For Jesus, there is no division between us and them, neighbor and stranger, friend and foe, immigrant and native born. We are all the children of God. Now that's a pretty powerful message, a message that our world certainly needs to hear and follow. But if you dig a little deeper, I think, and because Dr. King thought, there's more going on here than just that message that, everyone is our neighbor. And I want to share now with you Dr. King's retelling of the story, because his interpretation teaches us so much about love, and especially what so often stands in the way. Now, while many interpretations of this parable focus on the actions and the good done by the Good Samaritan, Dr. King spends much of his time talking about the men who walked past, the priest and the Levite. He speculates as to why they didn't stop. Perhaps, Dr. King says, they were on their way to an important religious meeting. There was a committee meeting for which they couldn't be late. Or maybe they were concerned about breaking religious laws that forbade them to touch an unclean human body. Now, ultimately, Dr. King rejected interpretations like this and instead argued very powerfully that the reason the 2 men didn't stop wasn't because they didn't care, or wasn't even because they didn't love or see or want to help their neighbor. They didn't stop simply because they were afraid. That's Dr. King's conclusion. And who can blame them? The Jericho road was a notoriously dangerous road. Some people called it the road of blood. Now, Dr. King imagined that when the priest and the Levites saw the injured man, they thought that maybe the same robbers who had attacked him were still around and might attack them. Or perhaps even the injured man was faking. Maybe he wasn't hurt at all, and that if they stopped to help him, that he would rob them. And Dr. King says that this fear led the priest and the Levite to a fateful question. A question that gets to the heart of what it means to live one's life from a place of love and compassion rather than fear. If I stop to help this man, what will happen to me? If I stop to help this man, what will happen to me? What will happen to my life, to my livelihood, to my family, to all that I care about and hold dear? According to Dr. King, it was the fear of what might happen to them if they reached out and offered help that prevented the priest and the Levite from being able to see beyond themselves to the needs of a fellow human being. Now, I want to pause here for a moment to say a word about the priest and the Levite. While it's easy to simply characterize them as the villains in the story and to condemn them for their callous or heartless behavior, I must say that Dr. King's retelling of the story leads me to find their behavior uncomfortably familiar. I can think of so many times in my life when I found myself journeying down a metaphorical Jericho road, focused on myself and my own needs rather than the needs or the pain of another. All too often, fear and uncertainty have cast a shadow over my heart and led me to cross to the other side of the road so as to avoid putting love into action. Now, thankfully, as Dr. King says so well, along came the Good Samaritan, a man who himself was an outsider and deemed by many to be unworthy and a second-class citizen. And when the Good Samaritan saw the injured man, that same fear and anxiety more than likely gripped him as well. But rather than asking himself, if I stop to help this man, what will happen to me? Dr. King so brilliantly says that the Good Samaritan reversed the question. If I do not stop to help this man, what will happen to him? If I do not stop to help this man, what will happen to him? And that, folks, is the question, I think, before all of us this day and every day. Can we, as people of faith, answer the calling of love? A love that most assuredly dwells in each and every one of us, but that is often clouded and perhaps even blocked by fear and uncertainty and anxiety. Can we reverse the question and center the needs of a neighbor, the neighbor we know and the neighbor we don't know? Can we find ways to continually and consistently put love into action in our own lives and in our congregations? As Unitarian Universalists, that is most assuredly what we are called to do. And I'm fairly certain that's pretty similar to the calling that Sojourners is answering as well. Let me simply conclude by saying, may both of our congregations continue to answer love's call, and may we work together to build a more just, peaceful, and loving world for all of God's children. Amen, and blessed be. So let's now rise in body or spirit and join in singing our closing hymn. It's number 131 in the gray hymnal. The words will be on the screen very appropriately. Love will guide us. Please rise. Could I trouble you to extinguish our chalice? It is right down here. Here we go. I want to leave you this morning with words from Frederick Gillis, which are in our hymnal. He says, "May the love which overcomes all differences, which heals all wounds, which puts to flight all fears and which reconciles all who are separated. May that boundless and universal love be in us and among us now and always. Friends, be well. Sojourners, it has been a joy. I hope I'd get a chance to chat with many of you at coffee today. You have just been a blessing and a gift. Oh, and you Steveville people are pretty good too. So, amen and go in peace.